Hey guys, today I'm going to take a look at the latest release of Redcore Linux. Redcore Linux is a Gentoo-based Linux distribution. It is a continuation of the now defunct Ghiunhan Linux. Ghiunhan Linux was a distribution of some years past. It was based on Meltdown Linux and then later Gentoo Linux. That Linux distribution ceased to exist, but it continues today as Redcore Linux. Now I reviewed Redcore about 2 months ago on this channel, and my review was mostly positive. I really loved Redcore. It's actually one of my favorite Gentoo-based distributions that I've looked at so far. So I'm pretty excited to check out their latest release. Again, this is Redcore Linux 1801. Looking at the some of the release notes here for the latest release of Redcore. They have a resync with the Gentoo portage tree. The Linux kernel is going to be 4.14.14. Looks like they have some Meltdown mitigation and some Spectre mitigation enabled by default. So for those of you wondering about the latest CPU security flaws, looks like they've taken care of some of that with some patching. Mesa has been updated to 17.3.3. The KDE frameworks have been updated to 5.42. Mirror selection is configurable since we have yet another mirror. It's always great to have more mirrors. Root password is now disabled in the installer. The installer starts right away without asking for a password. That's great. My previous review of Redcore, when I tried to install it, I didn't know what the login or the password was for the installer because it was nowhere in the distribution itself. You had to go to the Redcore website to find what the login and the password was, and I did criticize the distribution for that, but the developers, they listened and they went ahead and took that out of the installer, so now there's no need to enter a password to run the installer, so that's great. The installed system will now take less disk space. That's great too. I think did critique that my initial review of Redcore took a little bit too much disk space. There's also some artwork fixes and tweaks. That's great. It's always nice to make your distro more polished, more professional looking. And they also mentioned that their lock screen is now pretty. Always good to have a pretty lock screen. So anyway, I'm going to pull down the ISO and install this inside VirtualBox. Now the ISO for Redcore Linux 1801 LXQt, the only desktop they offer for Redcore is LXQt, at least by default on the ISO. The ISO is 2.6 gigabytes in size, so that's a big ISO. Alright, so I've downloaded the ISO, and let me go ahead and I'm going to start Redcore 1801. Alright, and here we are at a login screen. Now, I wonder if I still need a username and password to actually log into the live desktop. Let's see if I can just click login. No, I still need to actually enter a password. Let me go to the website and see what the username and password is. On the download page where I pulled down the ISO, username is Redcore, password is Redcore. So, Redcore and Redcore. This should log us into the live desktop environment. Again, this will be the LXQt desktop. Looks like the VirtualBox guest editions work inside the live desktop environment. That's very nice. Get rid of some of these notifications. A little bit different artwork, a little bit different theme than the last time I viewed Redcore. Pretty nice. Still a kind of a red, kind of bright background, but for theming, it's not bad. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go up here and click the Redcore installer. Some pop-up notifications here about installing some VirtualBox guest editions. I guess there's a newer version of the guest editions out. One thing I will mention on the theming, you still have the red cursor. Red theming in the installer, being Redcore Linux. A lot of red theming. Alright, this looks like it's the Calamares installer. Same installer as before. So I'm just going to click next. It's already chosen English United States for the language. The time zone's not correct. I need to be in the central time zone here in the US. Alright, English US has been chosen for the keyboard. I can test that out in the test field. Keyboard is working as expected. Alright, partitioning. I can erase the disk and let Redcore set up the partitioning itself. Just do some automatic partitioning, or I can do some manual partitioning and set up the partitions myself. I'm going to let Redcore just do what it wants with the partitioning. Alright, we need to choose a name and a password. So just going to choose a very simple username and a very simple password. We have the option of logging in automatically without being asked for a password. I'm not going to tick that on. I want to be asked for a password to log in. We also have the option of use the same password for the administrator account, for the root account. I'm going to tick that on. That way I don't have to remember two different passwords. The home user and the root user both have the same password. Alright, then we have our summary screen. Location looks correct. Keyboard layout's correct. The partition scheme looks good. I'm just going to click next. The Redcore installer is about to make changes to your disk in order to install Redcore 1801. You will not be able to undo these changes, so it's a little warning message letting me know it's about to format the drive and write to the disk. I'm going to click install now, and the installation begins. If it's like your typical Linux install, it should take 5 to 10 minutes for this portion of the installer to run. I'm going to pause the video for a second. And the installation is done. That took, I don't know, maybe about 15 minutes. Pretty quick installation process. And in the Calamaris installer, you need to go down here and click Restart Now. You always have to reboot your machine anytime you install an operating system to complete the install. You click Done and your machine reboots, and that's what I'm going to do right now. And I have rebooted our freshly installed Redcore Linux. See how long boot up time takes. For most Linux distros, it takes about 10 seconds or so to get to a login manager. And that's about what it takes for Redcore Linux. Boot up time was very fast. Alright, so I'm going to log in. And the LXQt desktop environment actually loads pretty fast too. Pretty impressive speed. Alright, so I've already mentioned, the wallpaper. Really nice theming on the wallpaper. Again, fits with the Redcore name, the blood red wallpaper. The LXQt panel at the bottom, the dark theme is really nice. Oh yeah. I can tell they definitely did some improvements on the theming. That was one of the things in the release notes, that this is going to be a bit prettier than it was last time. Not that it was ugly in the last review that I did, but still, it looks a little bit more polished and put together. One thing I will notice, we do have one icon on the desktop, Ask for Help. Let me click that and see exactly what that does. It opens up our web browser, the Cupzilla web browser. And we can connect to the Freenode IRC network, and it will take us to the Redcore Linux channel so we can get support in the IRC channel, so that's cool. And I'm going to quickly go over some of the programs installed by default. Now remember, the ISO was 2.6 gigabytes in size, so there should be quite a bit of software here installed on Redcore. So under accessories we have Arc, which is our archiving utility. We have Featherpad. Featherpad is a text editor. Featherpad 0.6. It's a lightweight tabbed plain text editor based on Qt 5. Again, we're using the LXQt desktop environment, so we're going to have all Qt apps. Alright, so we have the HP Device Manager. We have KCalc for our calculator. We have KeyPass. We have Notepad QQ. This is another Qt text editor. Let's see. Also under accessories we have PCman FM. This is the PCman FM, the file manager. One of my favorite file managers. This is the Qt version of PCman FM. This is version 0.12. I really love this icon set. Pretty cool. And finishing out accessories we have Clipper, which is our clipboard manager. Under Games, we have Play on Linux and Steam, both installed by default. Excellent. Under Graphics, we have FontForge, we have GIMP. GIMP is installed by default. Now that is a GTK app, but still I think GIMP really should be installed by default on every Linux distro. It's that important of a program. If you're going to do any kind of image editing at all on your Linux machine, you're going to need GIMP. And let's see, help. Oh, I don't want to do that. I was just trying to get the latest version of GIMP. It's 2.8.22. Pretty cool. And close out GIMP. Also under Graphics, we have Inkscape, LXimage. We have our screenshot utility. We have Xsane scanning. Internet, we have KGet, which is your download manager. One of the KDE apps. We have Conversation, which is KDE's IRC chat client. Let me open that up. You can take a look. Anyway, you connect to the Freenode network, and by default it already has the Redcore Linux channel in there, so we could go ahead and connect to the Redcore IRC channel if we needed support. We have QBitTorrent installed. We have Quite RSS for an RSS newsfeed reader. Cupzilla again is our browser. This is Cupzilla 2.2.4. We have Trojita. I'm not exactly sure if that's the correct pronunciation of that, but that's a email client. Under Office, we have the entire LibreOffice suite. Again, it just makes sense to have the entire LibreOffice suite installed on pretty much every Linux distro. I think almost every user is going to want LibreOffice on their system, so go ahead and just put it on the ISO. QPDF View is a PDF viewer. Under Programming, we have some things like CMake, Notepad QQ again, and our Sandbox utility, our Sandbox shell. We have a category called Redcore Linux, and that is information about download, Gentoo documentation, Get Live Help, Redcore documentation. We have the Redcore Git repos, and we have a link to the Redcore homepage. So cool that we have all that help information right here in the menu. Sound and video. We have Cantata as our music player. Cantata is a really nice music player. It is a MPD music player. Also under sound and video, we have GUVC View. You see this program right here that my head is in? This is GUVC View running on my main machine. It is a webcam utility. Also under sound and video, K3B. K3B is KDE's disk burning utility. It is probably the best disk burning utility available on Linux. It's a fantastic application. K3B version 17.12.1. Right, also under sound and video, we have MPV for our media player. We have the Pulse Audio volume controller. We have Simple Screen Recorder for recording your desktop. It's actually what I use to record my desktop to make these videos, this Simple Screen Recorder. We have TV Max. TV Max, I've actually never seen this program other than in my review of Redcore before, but it looks like it is a TV streaming program. Looks really cool. I actually haven't spent any time, but watch TV channels for free. I mean, that's awesome. I really need to take a closer look at this program sometime. And we have Vid Cutter, which is going to be a video cutter and joiner. I guess it uses FFmpeg. And we have VLC for our media player. Most people would use it to play video. You can use it to play audio, though. This is VLC 2.2.8. Weatherwax is the code name for that version of VLC. VLC is another program that just makes sense to always include in every Linux distro because I think it's the video player of choice really for most people. Plus, when you install VLC, you get all the proprietary multimedia codecs that you need to properly play, all your multimedia files. So, and under System Tools, we have About LXQt, LXQt 0.12.0. LXQt, it's an advanced, easy-to-use, and fast desktop environment based on Qt technologies. Also under System Tools, we have AQEMU, that is a virtualization program. We have HTOP, which is our system monitor. Well, let's go ahead and check out our system monitor here, see what kind of CPU and memory usage we're using. Now, CPU usage, let it calm down here for a second. I've been opening and closing a lot of programs, but it looks like it's using about 12% or so of our 2 cores of CPU that I gave this machine. That's a little high, but you know, I've opened a lot of programs here, and there's also a little bit of stuff running down here in the sys tray, but that's not too bad. Oh, it spiked up a little bit there when I was playing around in the sys tray. Yeah, when I hover over that, you can see it spike up quite a bit. That's interesting. Not sure what's causing that. Memory usage is very low, 388 megs of the 6 gigs that I gave this virtual machine. That's outstanding. Right, also under System Tools, we have our ISO writer for writing images to a USB stick. K3B's listed again. We have more KDE stuff. This is CDE MU Manager, the KDE Partition Manager, Manage Printing. We have our Network Manager for our tray down here. Also under System Tools, we have QPS. We have the Qt terminal. That is our terminal here in Redcore Linux. A lightweight multi-platform terminal emulator. The Qt terminal is actually a really nice terminal emulator. I like it. Finishing out System Tools, we have the Sisyphus GUI. This is our package manager, our graphical package manager. And this is a graphical user interface. We can search for programs by name. So let me think of a package to search for. Cubzilla was our browser by default, but say I want standard Firefox. I could do a quick search for Firefox and Firefox would come up. That's the GUI package manager. We have UNetBootin also installed under System Tools. We have a Wine category. I never play around in Wine, but for those of you that need to run Windows-only software inside Linux, Wine is an option. Under Preferences, we have all our LXQt settings. We have the LXQt Configuration Manager, and that has your standard appearance, brightness, customized look and feel, desktop, file associations, keyboard and mouse, monitor settings, open box settings, power management, session settings, window effects, yada yada yada. And we have our Firewall Manager also. Alright, I'm going to right click on the desktop and I'm going to choose Desktop Preferences. And we have our wallpaper here. It is located in user/share/backgrounds. So I'm going to navigate to that directory and see if there's any other wallpapers I could choose. Alright, and I've went to the /user/share/backgrounds/nature folder here. And we do have quite a number of images located here that I could choose. I don't have any kind of image preview though, so I'm really not sure what I'm getting with this. But I'm just going to pick one. How about fire1.jpg? Let's see what that is. I'm going to hit apply. Anyway, that's pretty cool. I should probably just navigate to that folder with like a image preview application, an image viewer of some kind, and actually look through them all through the image viewer and then decide which one I like and then go through the trouble of going through this and choosing, because it's kind of hard to choose a wallpaper without having being able to look at it. So I actually opened up the PCman FM file manager here, and I'm gonna actually view these inside our image viewer here. And this is the nature wallpapers. I'm just going to cycle through these so you get an idea of some of the wallpapers installed by default. Some really cool stuff here. Yeah, really nice nature photographs. Really good stuff. Yeah, I really like that one there. That's a beautiful photo too. Yeah, pretty cool with the rays of sun coming through the clouds there. Anyway, I could play around with the wallpapers all day. Anyway, let's check out the Sisyphus package manager actually in the terminal. So for most Linux distros, usually Control-Alt-T is hotkey to open a terminal. And it is for Redcore Linux as well. That's awesome. So I'm going to open up a terminal here. And I'm actually going to install something with Sisyphus. So I'm assuming I'm going to need super user privileges here. So let me see if I can log in as root. I can. So Sisyphus, if I can remember how to spell it, Sisyphus install. And you remember I looked for Firefox earlier, so I know Firefox is in the repos. And let's see how long it takes to install Firefox. Sometimes some of these Gentoo-based distributions, it takes them a little longer to install software than, say, something like Debian or Arch. It just does. It takes longer to build the program in Gentoo, especially if you're 100% compatible with Gentoo, which Redcore is. You could use emerge for your package management, just the same as Sisyphus. Sisyphus is kind of a front end, really, to emerge. It's really a well, let me pull up their page here. Sisyphus is the package manager used in Redcore Linux. In essence, it is a simple wrapper around Portage, Gentoo-kit, and the Portage utilities. So basically, it's just a wrapper for Portage. Anyway, it's asking me, do I want to merge these packages? So it found Firefox 57.0.4. And you can see it is going to take it a little time to build Firefox. ETA is a little over a minute. You know, not terribly slow, but, you know, not lightning quick either. And for those of you wondering about the Sisyphus, basically wrapper to emerge, Redcore Linux on their wiki here basically has what all the Sisyphus commands are, and basically what they would have been had you typed the emerge command. So Sisyphus install Firefox. What does that do? Well, it does emerge -- sync and emerge -a Firefox. It's basically what that command would have done had I done it in emerge. So still waiting for Firefox to install. You know, I want to try something out here in LXQt. I'm going to go to System Tools. I'm going to choose the Qt terminal here, and I'm going to drag that right here because I don't like seeing that application launcher empty here. What else could I add? You know, some things that I would use all the time. Well, eventually I'm going to use Mozilla Firefox, so can I add that? Yep. So now I have my terminal in my web browser. I have some quick launchers here, right here in LXQt. And Firefox finished installing. It took about 2 minutes or so. To update the system, let me remind myself what the command for it. I believe it's upgrade. Looking at the wiki, yes it is. Sisyphus upgrade. So let's see how many packages are available for upgrade. This is a fairly recent release. I don't think it's been out longer than maybe a week, so there shouldn't be a bunch of upgrades to do. But I just want to check on it. Alright, and it looks like there are a few packages I could go ahead and update. One thing I will mention from the last time I reviewed Redcore to this time, the Sisyphus package manager. Looks like there's a little bit more information presented on the screen than it was previously. I think I may have mentioned something about it last time, but you know, you're not exactly sure exactly what Sisyphus is doing with some of these commands. You know, now it's providing you a little bit more information about what's going on, you know, through some of these installs. So that's great. Anyway, I'm going to minimize this. So what is my final verdict here on Redcore 18.01, the LXQt version of Redcore? It's the only desktop they provide, the LXQt version. Love it. Still love it. I loved it the first time I reviewed it. I love it even better the second time. They just keep improving. A lot of the complaints I had before, like about the installer, some of the theming has gotten a lot better. I also didn't mention the website. When I showed you their website earlier, that's an updated look for their website too. Their website is looking a lot better. So good job. The Redcore Linux project is doing big things. It is gaining a lot of popularity right now in DistroWatch. I think they're currently ranked somewhere around 50 in DistroWatch's top 100 list. So that's great, because up until a couple of months ago, I'd never even heard of Redcore, and really it's gaining some steam. If you're wanting a good Gentoo-based Linux desktop distribution, guys, check out Redcore Linux. Peace.